On July 20th, 1969, humanity accomplished what had long been confined to the realm of myth and dream. It set foot on the moon. The first person to do so, stepping cautiously from the lunar module onto the dusty surface of Earth's natural satellite, was Neil Armstrong. His words, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind," echoed through time, not only because of their poetic cadence, but because of the monumental achievement they represented. But Armstrong's story is far more than a single moment. It is a tale of discipline, intellect, service, and quiet determination. Unlike many heroes of his era, Armstrong was deeply private and modest, often shunning the fame that came with his achievements. His life, spanning from the rural fields of Ohio to the desolate plains of the moon, serves as a case study in perseverance, science, and stoic bravery. Neil Alden Armstrong was born on August 5, 1930 in Wapakoneta, Ohio, to Stephen and Viola Armstrong. From a young age, he exhibited a strong interest in aviation. At just 2 years old, he sat on his father's lap in the cockpit of a Ford Trimotor during a local fair, an experience that sparked an insatiable curiosity about flight. By the age of 15, Armstrong was already taking flying lessons and earned his student pilot's license at 16 before he had a driver's license. He attended Bloom High School, where he excelled in math and science and earned a Navy scholarship under the Holloway Plan to attend Purdue University. He began his aeronautical engineering studies in 1947, but, like many young men of his generation, his education was interrupted by war. In 1949, Armstrong was called to active duty with the United States Navy and underwent flight training. By 1951, during the Korean War, he was flying Grumman F-9F Panther jets in combat. Over the course of the war, he flew 78 combat missions, including one harrowing experience where he was shot down and forced to eject over enemy territory. He was rescued after crashing behind friendly lines, a testament to his calmness under fire and his survival instincts. These experiences molded Armstrong into a disciplined and fearless aviator, traits that would later define his approach to spaceflight. After completing his military service, he returned to Purdue and graduated in 1955 with a degree in aeronautical engineering. Following graduation, Armstrong joined the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, which later became NASA. He worked as a test pilot at Edwards Air Force Base in California, where he flew over 200 different models of aircraft, from high-speed jets to rocket planes. One of the most notable aircraft he flew was the North American X-15, a rocket-powered aircraft that could reach the edge of space. Armstrong's flights in the X-15 program helped gather crucial data about high-altitude flight, atmospheric re-entry, and the human body's ability to endure G-forces and rapid acceleration. On one mission, he flew to an altitude of 207,000 feet and reached speeds of over 3,900 miles per hour. Armstrong's calm demeanor and technical expertise made him a natural leader among his peers. He was known not for bravado, but for unflinching competence. In 1962, Armstrong was selected as one of the 9 astronauts in NASA's second group. Unlike many of his fellow astronauts, he was a civilian. Most were military pilots. NASA's choice reflected its increasing focus on scientific expertise as well as flying skill. Armstrong's first spaceflight came in 1966 aboard Gemini 8, where he served as mission commander alongside David Scott. The mission was a technical triumph and a near disaster. It achieved the first docking of 2 spacecraft in orbit, a vital step for future moon missions, but shortly after docking, the spacecraft began spinning uncontrollably due to a stuck thruster. Armstrong quickly undocked the 2 spacecraft and used the re-entry control system to stabilize Gemini 8, ending the mission early but saving both their lives. It was a defining moment. Armstrong's quick thinking under pressure had averted catastrophe. NASA officials were deeply impressed. By 1969, Armstrong was chosen to command Apollo 11, the first mission to attempt a lunar landing. He was joined by Buzz Aldrin, who would follow him onto the moon, and Michael Collins, who would remain in lunar orbit aboard the command module. The mission launched on July 16, 1969, aboard a Saturn V rocket. After traveling over 240,000 miles, Armstrong and Aldrin descended toward the moon's surface in the lunar module Eagle on July 20th. As they approached the landing site, Armstrong noticed a field of boulders and had to take manual control to guide the module to a safer location. He landed with just 20 seconds of fuel remaining. At 10:56 p.m. EDT, Armstrong climbed down the ladder and placed his boot onto the lunar regolith. His words, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind," were broadcast to millions around the world. The astronauts spent about 2.5 hours on the surface, collecting rock samples, taking photos, and setting up scientific instruments. The mission was a staggering success and fulfilled President Kennedy's bold promise made in 1961. Following the mission, Armstrong became an international celebrity. He and his crewmates embarked on a global goodwill tour, visiting 22 countries in 38 days. Yet, Armstrong was never comfortable with the fame. He declined most interviews, avoided commercial endorsements, and eventually retreated from the public spotlight. In 1971, Armstrong resigned from NASA and accepted a teaching position at the University of Cincinnati, where he taught aerospace engineering. He also served on several corporate boards and government commissions, including the Rogers Commission, which investigated the Challenger disaster in 1986. Despite the opportunity to capitalize on his fame, Armstrong remained deeply private. He stopped signing autographs after discovering they were being sold. He never ran for political office, refused most public appearances, and never wrote a memoir during his lifetime. A man who had gone where no one else had been, preferred the quiet dignity of ordinary life. Armstrong's legacy is one of scientific achievement and personal integrity. He received numerous honors, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, Congressional Space Medal of Honor, and Congressional Gold Medal. He was inducted into the Astronaut Hall of Fame and the National Aviation Hall of Fame. In his later years, Armstrong occasionally spoke out on matters of space policy. He voiced concerns about NASA's direction, particularly regarding the retirement of the Space Shuttle program and the reliance on commercial spaceflight. His insights were always thoughtful, technical, and delivered with the understated confidence of someone who had actually done the hardest thing imaginable. Neil Armstrong passed away on August 25, 2012, due to complications following cardiovascular surgery. His death marked the end of an era, and tributes poured in from around the world. President Obama said, "Neil was among the greatest of American heroes, not just of his time, but of all time." At Armstrong's request, his ashes were scattered at sea. Neil Armstrong's journey to the moon was not just a technical triumph. It was the realization of humanity's age-old yearning to explore. But what made Armstrong so compelling wasn't just the places he went, it was how he went about it. With humility, precision, bravery, and an unshakable sense of duty. He was not interested in celebrity, he never sought fortune, he did not think himself exceptional. And yet, in the most critical moment of the 20th century's greatest scientific endeavor, it was Neil Armstrong who calmly took control, gently touched down on another world, and left behind a footprint that said, "We were here, we dared." Armstrong's life reminds us that greatness isn't always loud. Sometimes it wears a flight suit, flies without panic, and comes home to quietly teach the next generation. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to Blistering History.